When I look back at many wrestlers in the sport of professional wrestling, I always think about the ones that never made it. The guys who had all the talent in the world, but when they did get to that bigger platform, they were never used properly. Whether it was management or they were their own worst enemy, for whatever reason, they never became the star that they should have. If you look at a guy who had all the tools but couldn't get to the top of the mountain, you have to talk about Mike Awesome. He made it big in Japan and ECW, but when he came to World Championship Wrestling, he never became the star that he should have. Today I'm going to look at what went wrong with Mike Awesome in WCW. On April 10th, 2000, Mike Awesome made a surprise appearance on WCW Monday Nitro. This edition of Nitro was a reboot of sorts for the company. Eric Bischoff and Vince Russo were starting off fresh with all the champions being stripped. And they had the new blood of WCW versus the established old guard in the Millionaires Club. Mike Awesome made his debut in WCW by attacking Kevin Nash and aiding the new blood. This may sound like an average storyline, but one thing that made this different was that Mike Awesome was the current ECW World Heavyweight Champion. At the time, ECW was having major financial issues, and many of its top talents were not getting paid the money they were owed. Mike Awesome had refused to sign a new contract with ECW until Paul Heyman would pay him the wages that were overdue. Due to concerns over legal issues in WCW, they refrained from having Mike Awesome appear on their television show with the ECW World Heavyweight Championship. Eventually, a compromise was reached. Mike Awesome, a WCW employee and ECW champion, appeared a few days later at an ECW event in Indianapolis. He was accompanied by WCW's head of security, and he lost his championship to Taz, who was a WWF employee at the time. Taz later lost it to Tommy Dreamer, who was a full-time ECW wrestler, and then, 20 minutes later, he lost it to Just Incredible. In a shoot interview released by High Spots in 2005, Awesome expressed that he would have rather had to face off with ECW and WWE colleague Rhino, and suggested that they could have put more entertaining match regardless of the circumstances and the manner in which he had left ECW. Now on with WCW. Awesome continued to be a major factor with the New Blood faction. For the next month, he was teaming with Billy Kidman, occasionally aiding him in his feud with Hulk Hogan. Awesome also engaged in an on and off feud with Kevin Nash and feuded with DDP and Kanyon. In May of 2000, Awesome threw Kanyon off the top of the first level of the triple cage on the entrance ramp. This would start the career killer gimmick. Being a fantastic wrestler and now a career killer, he would surely move up the ladder in WCW, but things didn't really go that way for him. After Bash at the Beach in July of 2000, his gimmick was tweaked. He was becoming infatuated with heavy-set women and calling himself the Fat Chick Thriller. His gimmick was that he liked big women. Okay? This gimmick was bad on so many levels. One of the most concerning issues was that they were weight-shaming women that would come out to the ring with him. It's one of those things that you look back in wrestling and say, wow, that ages like spoiled milk. Following the Fat Chick Thriller character, he became that 70s guy, Mike Awesome. Just as the name implies, Mike Awesome was from the 70s. You know, that popular TV show, That 70s Show? Yeah, it was a spin-off of that. I'm starting to think that someone just didn't like Mike Awesome because this was just awful. Awesome dressed in the 1970s inspired attire and hosted the Lava Lamp Lounge interview segment. He was additionally given the bust that resembled the one that was on the Partridge Family. During this time, he had a feud with Vampiro, which resulted in brawls with Mike Awesome and Vampiro's allies, the Insane Clown Posse. One time, on Nitro, Awesome battled both ICP members in a handicap match, during which he hit Shaggy with a powerbomb on top of the roof of the bus, and Shaggy fell to the concrete below. It wasn't great, but that powerbomb still makes me laugh every time I see it. After this, Mike Awesome had another gimmick change when he joined Team Canada. On an episode of Thunder, Awesome dropped the 70s gimmick in favor of the Canadian career killer gimmick when he joined Team Canada with Lance Storm and Elix Skipper. A feud with the Filthy Animals led Awesome to challenge Billy Kidman to a hair versus hair match. However, before the bout could take place, Team Canada attacked Kidman, leaving him unable to compete. Kidman's bald stablemate, remember this is a hair versus hair match, Conan, replaced him and got the win, giving the Animals the right to cut off Awesome's longtime mullet. Awesome then faded in the background, mostly helping Lance Storm in his battles against Ernest the Cat Miller. And on the final Nitro, Awesome and Storm were defeated by Chuck Palumbo and Sean O'Haire in a WCW World Tag Team Championship match. In a shoot interview released by High Spots, Awesome conspired that the infamous incident between Vince Russo and Hulk Hogan at Bash at the Beach may have been one of the underlying reasons as to why he was plagued with a string of unfavorable gimmicks, as he was cousins with Horace Hogan. Awesome suggested that Russo may have thought that he was too close of kin to Hulk Hogan and decided to take it out on him. When WCW was closed and bought by the WWF, he was brought in for the Invasion as a WCW superstar, and he won the Hardcore Championship. He never really became a main focus of the Invasion, and he's easily forgotten during that time. Mike Awesome would return to the big stage with WWE when they hosted ECW One Night Stand, a showcase of ECW's legacy. He stole the show that night by having a stellar match with former rival Masato Tanaka. Everyone loved it and they got a standing ovation from the crowd. In February 2006, after 17 years in the ring, Awesome announced his retirement from wrestling, saying that he wanted to spend more time with his family and aiding that he felt underpaid from his work at ECW One Night Stand. He would only return to the ring if the money was right. On February 17, 2007, Mike Awesome tragically took his own life. If you look back at the career of Mike Awesome, you could see the potential for greatness. Well, it was there. He was a guy who, if used properly, could be a megastar. In Japan and ECW, he was a standout, and he really showcased his talents. He showed off that he could be a big, tough guy who could still be agile in the ring. At ECW's One Night Stand, he had the #1 match on the card that everyone talked about with Masato Tanaka. This match proved that even in 2005, there was still a place for Mike Awesome in the mainstream of professional wrestling. However, in 2000, when he came into WCW, the story was a bit different. The rumors circulated that Mike Awesome wasn't used properly because Vince Russo didn't like Hulk Hogan. Mike Awesome was somewhat related to Hulk Hogan. He came in and made a big splash, taking out Kevin Nash and showing off that he was still ECW champion. But soon after, he was changed to the Fat Chick Thriller. I don't think anyone could recover after that character. Following that, he was that 70s guy, a gimmick that, quite frankly, was terrible as well. After that, he joined Team Canada, even though he wasn't Canadian and didn't really fit into the group because he was feuding with Lance Storm at the time. If they could have stuck to the previous idea of Mike Awesome being the career killer, it could have worked. His in-ring ability was all that really needed to be showcased. They should have let him do the type of matches that worked for him in Japan and ECW and leave the silly gimmicks to someone else. After all the bullshit he had to go through, I'm surprised that he even stayed with WCW until the very end.